Okay, let's go ahead
Here's the agenda.
and start the
Do we have
meeting.
everything in
This is
place?
the packet he just gave me.
Okay. Okay, so are we ready to roll?
Yeah, you want me to take a roll call?
Yes, let's go ahead and do a roll call.
All right. Commissioner Martin?
Present.
Commissioner Cassidy?
Present.
Commissioner Kiesling?
Here,
Commissioner McCarty?
Here?
Commissioner Jones? And Commissioner Tucker indicated to me he was not going to be able to make it tonight, so we have all 5 voting members of the Redevelopment Commission present at this meeting.
Outstanding. Okay.
please note who else is here, like City Council and BEDC.
Oh, yes.
County Council,
County
excuse me.
Council.
County
My
Council.
mistake.
Councilwoman Fidel is here. Jen Pearl from the BEDC is here, and Ashley from the Auditor's Office, as well as Lisa Ridge and myself, Jeff Cockrell.
Good. I just find it easier if we put people's names down for who is here, so we can go back and talk to them later, if we need to or want to.
All right. And
Sorry about that.
That's okay. We have the professor and Mary Ann, too. So.
Just gave that out.
Okay. All right, so are we ready to move forward then?
Should have received 4 different resolutions, one for each of our tax and finance districts, and they're also in the packet. I did prepare a kind of a quick presentation to kind of just go through. Again, the question is whether there is any excess assessed value in any of these TIF districts. That pretty much means, do we think we have too much funding coming in to cover what's necessary? These are state required findings, so we do this annually. I guess in the history of this, we've never found that there was excess assessed value, but I'm going to kind of go through. A lot of this information is directly from our last meeting and our annual report, so I don't think any of this will be earth-shattering, but I thought it would be great to have a kind of a little presentation.
Okay, Jeff, would you walk us through briefly that definition of excess value?
Excess assessed value. So
Excess assessed.
assessed value.
Yes,
Assessed value, as you,
Right.
I think everybody knows, is
Yeah.
what we base tax bills on. Your home's assessed value, there's a tax rate associated with that, and then that tax rate multiplied the assessed value. And I'm simplifying it because there's homestead credits and there's tax abatements, and there are all kind of things that can affect that. But primarily, that assessed value multiplied by your tax rate is your tax bill. And so the TIF districts as a whole have an assessed value where you add up all the assessed values of each individual parcel, and that would be the TIF district's assessed value. And then that gets calculated into a tax rate, and then that gets on the tax bills, and when they're paid, collected, the TIF district gets the portion of it that belongs to the TIF district.
So then the excess.
An excess assessed value would be if you find that, hey, that revenue is more than we need to do our operations and our business, so we're collecting more than we want, and so instead of collecting it and having the Redevelopment Commission and the TIF district kind of hold money they don't need, the state has a mechanism where the Redevelopment Commission will say, hey, we don't need this extra assessed value, please put it back. And I think they term it that way so that you can't say we don't need the assessed value and it just goes to the county or to a township or anything. It would get distributed as a property tax for that area would be. West Side TIF district, for instance, is mostly in Richland Township. So
Okay.
so it would have all those different tax rates associated with a piece of property in Richland Township, and so it would get distributed that way.
Gotcha. Thank you. Thank you. I just wanted good background, but the excess is something that hard for me to get my head around even after a couple of years, but thank you.
To be sure.
Helps, yes.
Want me to get on a soapbox? I will tell you that in the next couple of years after Senate Bill 1, I think there's going to be a lot of places in Indiana that are going to have to look at redevelopment commissions and this excess assessed value question.
Yes.
I think this whole process is going to gain an importance in the next 5 years that I don't think a lot of us ever thought it would.
Yeah. I have never read a fiscal note on a bill so many times until this
This one,
SB1. Yeah. So, thank you.
the
All right,
impact.
so I'm going to go through Resolution 2025-1, and can you go to the next page on 20, is for the West Side TIF District. At the beginning of the year, we had a cash balance of $347,316. As you probably are aware, we've spent some of that in the STEAM payment to the RBB schools, and I think that one may be the one that the auditor picked up, and we're going to have to correct after July 1. We have made a payment on one of the fire truck for Ellettsville out of there, so that number is reduced from that amount as of today. The recommended minimum cash balance in that fund is $1 million. I think everybody on the RDC, except for maybe Mr. Jones, understands what we went through last year with the Vernal Bike Connector road and the grant funding and the need to pay the upfront amount for that grant funding that occurred last year. So this was kind of an anticipated low point for the Redevelopment Commission. And we believe by the end of this year, we should be back close to that $1 million figure for our minimum cash balance. So when we talk to the Financial Solutions Group, they're the ones, the financial advisors who do our presentation of our annual reports. They advised recommended a finding of no excess assessed value. Misspelled assessed on this. I apologize. So let's go on to the next page, and you'll see that error throughout this presentation. And this is just kind of the budget that we approved with the West Side TIF District. This one's a little bit more complicated than the rest of the TIF district, so I just wanted to show you kind of what we expect our expenditures over the next 5 years. You'll see we have kind of reoccurring payments to Richland Bean Blossom School for the STEM project of $270,000 a year. The Ellettsville fire truck of just under $500,000 a year, and then we've got some Curry Pike reconstruction and some other projects thrown in there, but kind of those are the two kind of reoccurring one. The rest of them are project by project, and they will come and go on an annual basis. So I guess you want to take questions by district, or do you want me to just go through them all and then ask questions at the end?
Well, let's go through it by district instead of going all the way back after we're done. So if anybody has any questions regarding this one.
When we're looking at our overall fiscal amount for the West Side TIF, we want to get up to $1 million based upon where we are as far as our fiscal plan through 2029. Will we be able to hit that based on what we see from an excess value to maintain that?
I think we'll be in good shape until 2028, and in 2028 we get about $3.5 million in projects. That TIF district generally collects about $2 million a year. So for this year, we're low, but we only have about $1 million in expenditures, so we expect to be up to $1 million at the end of this year. The next 2 years, it looks like we'll probably grow that fund by about $500,000 a year. But then in 28, we have $3.5 million of projects. Not doing the math off the top of my head, I think that comes to real close to getting us back down to that $1 million figure. But I should be able to maintain that.
Is that a situation as we look from project to project that we have to look based on SB1 and where we look fiscally in the next few years that we have to potentially trim the projects that we have on? Or will that be something that will be able to be determined based on what our fiscal?
Well, I think there's two things that is a factor in here. And when we get to the Curry Pike district, one of the things we've discussed at the last meeting is maybe adding some of the Curry Pike reconstruction project to that TIF district. That isn't generating a lot of revenue at this point. Maybe in a couple years it might be. But that would be one option. And I think the other option is that, for the kind of other than number 3 and number 4 on this list, I mean, those projects aren't set in stone as there's no federal grant funding that is dictating that schedule. That schedule is more dictated by what revenues to do. And I think Lisa always is good at finding one, extra revenue, and two, she's got a couple other funds that if we get close, could help support these projects.
And based on where we're setting it on this fund of the Curry Pike reconstruction on a 3-year basis, that fulfills the needs of the community and the schedule for the highway to be complete in the timeframes that'll get us on a cycle where we're not basically the road's degrading to a point.
Correct. Now, and making it happen over the next 3 years keeps it in the shape that it's doesn't get to a point that it's devastated, and that's what we're trying to stay ahead of. Kind of stay ahead of the game. One, we'll probably start doing a little bit of engineering. I had budgeted, I believe, $200,000 in the budget already in 2025. Start to do just a little bit to make sure that we reconstruct it correctly. We got a lot of stormwater infrastructure there in that first section. We should have the plans and everything when we built Curry Pike. I think it was, I was looking at old files. I think we did the groundbreaking in 90 or 92. First phase of Curry Pike. So it's at the end of its life cycle for the amount of traffic that it takes. And, you know, there's inflation out there that's hit a lot of the projects. So we did this as current as we could on the cost of what our projects are costing right now. So, and if we have to break it down into another segment to help make the need, we can do that. We're just trying to cautiously move forward so we can get the TIF back into where it needs to be with the $1 million balance. Leading up to this past year, we knew we were going to be close. I think we kind of almost took the gamble of not bonding because we really didn't want to. And then we had my local road and street budget to kind of back it up, and it has a little bit. I think there's some that'll come back to it after we get distribution and make the corrections. I think there was bond payment or something that was supposed to be paid out of the bonds, and they were paid out of the West type TIF, and so those adjustments will come this year. But I think you'll get back to your million to where you need to be.
Get back to me where we are and still have the funding and the time frame in order to get our public infrastructure.
Right, and we're not sure what'll happen with Detmer, you know, the trail. We would love to finish that. In 2016, that little piece was estimated at $500,000. As you can see, it's now at a construction of 1.8. So that's just, we just don't have the funding at this time to really set aside for that, so.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Richard, did you have anything?
Yes. Are we going to have any more expenses this year for the bridge project over the railroad? Or has all of that been now paid, prepaid, et cetera?
So as of right now, the deck was poured this week, so we are still looking at mid-August completion. I do not have any outstanding change orders. We paid our construction match when it started. We have paid anything that's not provided by the grant. We've paid that either out of what was appropriated already in the West Side TIF, or again, we've used a little bit of local road and street money. So at this time, I do not have any extra expense on that project.
What about inspection?
Construction inspection, we're still we're still within our budget on that, within the contract.
Okay.
Let me think. Is that one got? That one, the construction inspection on that is not reimbursed. I don't think that was covered by a grant, but we appropriated, but I've got
we indicated that we were going to have to pay that.
Okay, that's what I'm thinking, because I have Fullerton Pike going on at the same time. But we had appropriated enough for that line to be paying for construction inspection services out of the West Side TIF. That was already appropriated.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
A quick question on the trail and Curry Pike. Are those included in the, let's say, the transportation improvement plan, or is that, when you look ahead, is that something that's already
About the future projects?
on the future project? So Curry, is that part of?
They're not in the TIP. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
No, the projects that we put in the TIP run through the MPO And then they get later put into the STIP when it's federally funded. So then, you're at the lower level of the, say, the local transportation improvement program. Any of those run through our MPO.
Okay,
Anything outside of that would run, if it's not within the MPO, just goes straight into the STIP if it's federally funded.
but that's true of all TIF district road improvement
So-
or street?
Only if you're dealing with federal funds is it going to
Federal
go into a
funds.
TIP
Okay,
or the STIP.
gotcha.
Anything that's locally funded, we have a couple bridge projects that we don't have federal funds for. It does not go into any TIP or any STIP.
Okay, thank you. That helps. Okay, any other questions on the west side?
We're going to deal with these one at a time. Do you want a motion for each one then? Jeff?
I think you could do a motion after each one. If that's how we're going to do the discussion, that would make the most
Want to
sense.
do them separately?
Yeah. Yeah. So I'd like to entertain a motion then for approval. The west side TIF.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve resolution number 2025-01.
I'll second.
Okay, motion's been seconded. Mr. Cockrell, call the roll.
Commissioner Martin,
Yes.
Commissioner Cassidy,
Yes.
Commissioner Kiesling,
Yes.
Commissioner McCarty,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones. Yes. Motion is approved, 5-0.
All right, State Road 46.
State Road 46, this is the one where we are currently have a bond outstanding, was issued in 2021 for the connection from State Road 46 to Arlington Drive, over the Hunter Valley. I guess the gravel Hunter Valley Road was going to be, there's going to be a bridge there, and then that gravel part was going to be converted into basically the same style of road that goes up to Stouts Creek. And so that bond has not been really utilized yet, although I will tell you today in my staff comment that I just got something this afternoon where they're starting to ask for reimbursements for funding that we'll look at the next meeting. But it's anticipated that that roadway will hopefully be completed this year, depending on the NOMAR, is that right? LOMAR, excuse me, LOMAR. Sometimes the acronyms get too much. But that is an estimated to be a $4.5 million road project. The cash flow based upon the current assessed values in that TIF district will not cover 100% of that at this point. It's anticipated, or it's hoped that a business or two will move into that area, and then that will give us adequate revenue to cover those debt payments. With the caveat that if they're not covered, then they're the developer's responsibility to pay back. It doesn't go to any kind of property tax backed financing. And again, the Financial Solutions Group advised that there was no assessed value at the last meeting.
Any questions on?
So just to verify from the general public in regards to it, it's a $4.5 million project. There's been $4.5 million worth of bonds that have been drawn on it, and it's, yeah.
There's $4.5 million of bonding fund available to them. They do not draw on those bonds until they've done some work and paid some bills.
As soon as that starts getting drawn down, it's projected that there won't be enough revenue to cover that construction cost.
There won't be enough revenue to cover the repayment of those bonds without additional assessed value being added to that, which this road project is expected to add that.
To add the additional
Yeah.
development that will create excess revenue into the bond. But the county as a whole and the taxpayers don't have any liability for additional repayment.
Correct. The only thing that's pledged to that is the revenues from this district.
As this district develops, it will get more, but a significant portion of the district has been taken out and will now be into non-taxable area.
Correct.
Okay.
Jeff, this resolution is what number? I don't have it.
2025-02.
Oh, two, okay.
It should be in the packet behind
I
The
know, I
PowerPoint.
see it, but it's mixed up already. I got it right in front of me now.
And in looking at those revenues, future revenues, this is where the complexity comes in, because there's going to be a county government center located within that district. And I think to, kind of latch on to Randy's point, then how, it's probably a crystal ball, but how do we have a sense of how this is going to impact that payment of that bond if a considerable amount of assessed value, which, the value has grown exponentially once the deal is closed, how do we cover that? I guess or is it something we need to worry about looking at?
I guess I don't want to tell you not to worry. I mean, it's good to talk about. Worry is kind of, in my mind, a little misplaced of a word, because it's not going to cost the Redevelopment Commission any more than they receive in revenue. It's not going to cost taxpayers outside that district any more than, other than what the Redevelopment Commission collects in the increment. The developer is also the property owner who is selling the property. And finally, I think right now there is no improvements on the property, and there haven't been any improvements on the property since this district was founded in 2006-ish. So it's been out a while, and it hadn't grown naturally. So this district, if my memory is correct, ends around 2030. And so it's really time to get something going there. Now there is, it's not incorrect to say that the county's use of that property for a tax-exempt purpose takes that property out of the pool of properties that would be available to have developed and increase the increment. That's not an incorrect thing to say either.
Yeah, and I think that's the concern. Yeah. So.
The last question, I doubt if we have that particular answer. Based upon the total acreage that we have, and we're looking at increased assessed value by bringing businesses in or anything that has a taxable base that can be paid, after we take out the government center and the correctional facility, how many acres is actually left over that will have, approximately 4 years before this district sunsets that could potentially increase tax base?
I do not know that answer off the top of my head. I would guess that if you're including the area the county bought for the quarry park, which in my mind is not really developable, maybe you could argue 25 acres of it is, though, because it's got to do with environmental constraints and things. So we're taking approximately 53 acres out for the Justice Complex. My guess is that that total area was probably close to 200 acres. I don't know this off the top of my head. It looks to me what that 53 is probably at most a quarter of what would be remaining after that. Now, what I said about the quarry park and how some of it's not developable because of environmental, there's other areas of that TIF district that aren't really developable because of how the land is. There's some so it's not like that 25% is 25% of all the developable land, but that would be of the area, and that kind of math as to what's developable and not is one of the reasons I'm not working with the Plan Commission, because they have those kind of answers, and I just don't know it.
That's fine. My main objective in regards to asking the question is the total overall acreage. We approximately, based on this being 2026, we sunset in 2030 over here, is literally, if we're looking for anything in an increased value that would go towards this TIF, that then also helps pay for anything that TIF from a infrastructure standpoint.
Eventually.
We only have 4 years to get it done. Otherwise, we lose our increment, and then if we bond it, it will sunset in 2030. Is that a correct statement?
I can't remember if it's 2030 or 2031 or 2032.
Somewhere in there.
It's somewhere in that area. And I think the other interesting is this is also the area we looked at for a residential TIF.
Right.
And
Right.
so, the non-development of that area, because when you TIF something, you take the assessed value as it is the second you put that in a TIF district. So if you were going to do a residential TIF, it not having any buildings on it is kind of, you either want it not to have anything on it or what's on it to be really needing of redevelopment, right? So, so that option is still open. I don't know. I'm not bond counsel. I'm not financial advisor. I don't know how that would interplay with the current debt and whether there was something you could do to kind of help with that or not. I'm guessing there is, but I'm not sure what it would be.
That's fine. I'm just looking at the time frame we actually have to deal with if we're looking to capture any increment to take care of any public facilities. And that window is shrinking in such a time frame that where we had talked previously about a residential TIF may not be the ability to actually do anything on that. We may sunset our TIF and then, we have what we have. Go back to the other taxing entities when something gets built. Okay. I appreciate that very
I
much.
hope my answer was clear.
You did. Thank you.
Yes. Any other questions, comments on that? On State Road 46?
Did we get a motion on that one?
We do not have a motion. I'll entertain a motion.
A second.
I'm gonna, go ahead, Neris.
Okay. Okay, I thought Richard was saying something else. It's
You're
hard-
gonna make the motion?
Did Richard say yes?
Yeah. Richard, did you make the motion?
Yes.
Okay, I thought you had. And then
You
I
made the
seconded,
motion, I seconded.
and then I thought I said something else. Okay. So, Mr. Cockrell.
Commissioner Martin,
Yes.
Commissioner Cassidy,
Yes.
Commissioner Kiesling,
Yes.
Commissioner McCarty,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Motion is approved, 5-0.
Okay. Resolution on the Fullerton Pike TIF. Excess valuation.
Yeah, Fullerton Pike TIF, this is, we engaged in a bonding for this TIF district. That bonding included two different funding sources. One is this TIF district, the other is the Major Bridge Fund. As part of the redevelopment's commitment, they indicated that they were going to hold at least 50% of the revenues to pay towards that bonding. I think it was anticipated that the Major Bridge was going to have to deal with the majority of that anyway, just because of the revenues in this. Again, the Fulton Pike TIF has one primary taxpayer, and that's the hospital. And ever since its inception, the concern has been whether that hospital would go to a tax-exempt entity. And if that did, that would really negatively affect the revenues in that TIF district. So given that, you have the recommendation from the financial advisor that there is no excess assessed value. I guess you have questions?
Richard? Does Richard have a question on Fullerton?
Yes. We have committed 50% to the Fullerton Pike project. We have not committed anything else at this time for the other 50%. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And so I guess, Lisa, have you got anything in the works in that area in the next few years?
No, I do not.
Okay, so our options are to use the other 50%. We can kick it into the bridge project as well, the Fulton Pike project if we need to. But we are at the point where the accumulating excess that would not be used on that bridge project may in fact be excess funds.
I can spend,
because we don't have a
I
project
can
in
find a
mind
way to
yet.
spend it. That's not a problem.
Yeah, I know we can find a way to spend
Never
it, but we
is.
have to declare that we have a way to spend it. We
I-
can't just go out shopping.
Yeah, I have projects that definitely could be done. You could do reconstruction on quite a bit of roadways that are within these TIF districts. You know, there's other bridge projects and such in that area, so.
I would just add to what Lisa's saying, that restoration has kind of affected bridges, and I don't remember if they went so far with the major bridge fund as what we were hoping for. So there was conversation this year about opening up the major bridge fund to be able to fund some of the more traditional Cume Bridge projects. And so I think, you know, long-term, if they do that, you know, while we've only pledged 50%, there's nothing that says you can't pay a higher dollar amount than 50% for that. And if that would free up even a little bit of funding for other bridge projects, I think that would be something that we would probably make that request if that were to occur.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's-
you'd have to have somebody to support the bill. I do know Allen County is the only county that has been successful in opening up their major bridge fund to be able to fund. So if you have a major bridge fund, you can only use the funds for a bridge over 200 feet in length. After Fullerton Pike's built, we should probably have 9 bridges that fit to that. We have some under design that will probably fit that. But Allen County was able to go through legislative and put in the Indiana code under the major bridge fund that they can use it for any size bridge.
Really?
With the cost of inflation of what these bridges are costing now, the maintenance of them, it would be a tremendous help to Monroe County if we could try and figure out. I'm not a political legislative person. I don't know how to get a bill started. I don't know how you word it. I don't know how you create it. I don't even know where you begin. But it would be a huge benefit to Monroe County if we could get that in our direction. I think they're still unknown because in Senate Bill 1, our Cume Bridge and Major Bridge Fund is part of that property tax levy. So I don't know how the funding is going to move forward for Cume Bridge or Major Bridge Fund either. I don't know how they're going to be affected.
So you say we ought to wait to see what the General Assembly does to us?
Well, I think the Senate Bill 1 is already done,
That's
but
done.
I don't know
How
how
it
that
affects
works
us.
at your local level, how it's distributed.
Okay.
I know they have different rates on the Cume Bridge and the Major Bridge.
No,
One's
yeah.
in the frozen levee, one's not. That's really out of my normal day-to-day work. So I don't know how that funding is going to be affected.
I think we all know that the Senate bill is going to affect.
Speak up.
We all know that the Senate bill is going to affect our funding.
Yeah,
And
Absolutely.
we all know that. And so I think in my mind, along with that, there was language that requires counties to do all the bridges in the county except for a very limited number of items, mostly if the county wasn't involved in design and hadn't accepted it, which we had always done because we have a Cume Bridge Fund, but they've clarified a lot of things in there. And so
And that would be in House Bill 1461. So if you wanted to read House Bill 1461, that, so it's always been the understanding that a county, no matter if it's within the city, if you have a Cume Bridge, that you maintain the bridges. It was always known that the bridge definition included that it was over a 20-foot span.
Okay.
So over the last year or two, there's been some cities or towns to challenge that Indiana code because in that specific area, it did not say 20-foot span. So some of the entities were coming back saying to the counties, you are responsible for everything within our municipality, including small culverts. Well, that's a huge impact on counties.
that's right.
So they did get House Bill 1461 with that new language that Jeff's talking about, that now it does specifically say that it has to be over a 20-foot span for it to be maintained by the county. We did go to the State House and speak about including that a county has to be involved in the design of that bridge for them to maintain it. They did put that language in for us, otherwise, you don't know what you're accepting out there. So we did work hard on House Bill 1461 for more clarification. Just not sure how the funding will move forward in that.
Do we have somebody in the county who's following that, aside from you?
Well, we have been. We kind of got into the major bridge discussion probably more later than we could have. We were very involved with IACS, our county highway engineers and supervisor group. We had legislative meetings probably every other week. We had our representative from AIC, Brian Hoff, going there. House Bill 1461 could have, come out a lot worse, but I think we got some clarification in there that really helped counties not have to take over all the infrastructure, because it was leading also to, I think it was Johnson County eliminated their Cume Bridge Fund.
Right.
So there's other counties that was starting to head that direction, so that kind of puts fear into taking care of infrastructure in your bridges if everyone was going to start eliminating Cume Bridge funds. So that's why they really kind of put that more the clarification for the definition of a bridge in the House bill. So local entities couldn't come back and tell the county basically that they were in charge of all the
Good clarification
Yes,
in regards to
it was-
whose responsibilities it was
Yeah.
from a
It was
fiscal
just a
standpoint.
loophole that was there, and
They closed it.
they were closing that loophole. So
Yeah, go ahead. No, that's it.
For clarification in regards to it, if we were to help to enact some legislation similar to Allen County in order to move things through, so Monroe County, well, we are number one in getting this, what would that do for the county in maintaining and repairing or replacing bridges?
it would be huge.
Okay.
It brings in twice the money that Cume Bridge, at this point in time, Cume Bridge brings in, let me say, $1 million. Major Bridge Fund brings in probably $3 million. My staff that is bridge crew, they're all paid, their benefits are all paid out of Cume Bridge, which is probably over half the budget. But I can't use Major Bridge Fund for any of that. Opening that up, you could fund more bridges. You could, for an example, that road bridge, it's been under design. We were going to do it all locally for construction, design, right-of-way. When we started out, it was going to be at a cost of approximately $700,000 for construction. We felt like, given the time, we could do that all locally. Now we're at the time for construction, it's $1.8 million. We can't afford to do that. So actually, I put it into a NOFA call with NDOT, and it was actually awarded for construction in 2029, but we will be shovel-ready because we paid for design and right-of-way locally at 100%. So if we can move it up, we will, because we contributed that much locally. But it's just those kind of instances. If we had Major Bridge Fund to use, then maybe we could have probably done it all locally.
Is this a situation where when we're looking at like Fullerton Pike and are having that 50% of assessed value, would that be something that we could actually, as a redevelopment commission, utilize in hiring someone to help go through that legislative process in order to, because I know from a staff standpoint with the county and such, time and other items, it can fall to the wayside because you guys are overworked.
And I did a lot of digging on how Allen County succeeded in that. They sent me a lot of the descriptions on how they succeeded that. I don't know if we fit any of those. I think you could probably come up with some of those matching ideas. But again, I was given all the steps on how they used the factors to be able to do that.
So from a fiscal standpoint, is this something we'd want to ask FSG if that money could be utilized in that to try to move forward that so it opened up
Like a consulting
a
service.
consulting service in order to try to help open that up so that we can take care of our existing bridges need replaced, our maintenance, and then I know at some point with everything that went through 69, there'll be items that will fall into
Absolutely.
the county's responsibility.
Yeah, that's the
And
problem.
with that, having the funding to maintain the things even after they're built. So is that?
Are you asking if you guys can get a lobbyist? Is that?
A consultant,
Well, the county has a lobbyist, and
Okay.
they worked with Lisa in kind of helping present kind of the issues with House Bill 1461, and this was part of that. I guess the value I think that could be added is if when they do something next year, maybe have a redevelopment commission member come in and talk to the legislature and
Right.
produce testimony about, hey, these are the struggles we're seeing with our funding, and we want to help these things. I think that's kind of the level of support I think that we have it through Lisa, and we have it through a few others, but the louder or the bigger the voice may be more helpful as opposed to hiring another lobbyist to do work that's already been done.
Yeah, I was unaware that we had a lobbyist for the county specifically, so.
Lisa, has AIC and their other affiliates been helpful at all?
Yeah, they're great. We worked hard on 1461. Major bridge was kind of, not every county has major
I know.
bridge funds, so
Right.
it wasn't really a hot topic for a lot. And there's so much thrown into House Bill, and a lot of this is so over my head.
Got
I
it.
don't get involved in it, but House Bill 1461 has a lot built into it. Actually, they've even thrown in about township roads and township budgets, and
I thought I heard
townships
about that.
using part of their funds to maintain roads within their township. I find that interesting. I don't even know what a township brings in.
Ships wouldn't have
Actually,
fish-
I think
yeah.
it's Benton Township trustee, maybe, Benton, Michelle Bright, touched base with me last week because she's aware that it's out there now.
That's quite a bit of road to worry about.
Correct, but I told her it's $110,000 average estimate to pave 1 mile of road. I don't think they bring in those kind of funds.
No.
So there's just a lot in that House bill. So that AIC and our group focused more on things that were in there, and
Good.
Major Bridge wasn't in there because it dealt with community crossings and how that's changing. So, and Cume Bridge, there's just a lot of different items in that House bill. So we really focused on that one. I was probably more of the one that wanted the major bridge because I have a major bridge.
Well,
so
that's okay.
It's probably just a different avenue. I'll have to go out, they would support it in a heartbeat. But it's just probably something, if I really want to push it, I'm going to have to find a sponsor of the bill
Sure,
and things like
definitely.
that. So
I think you will get it pretty quickly because other counties are going to be needing it themselves.
I think the way inflation is,
Yeah.
and if you
Oh,
can have
absolutely.
the major bridge, I think that the fluctuation to use those funds should be available to us because they do nothing but stress that they want you to use all resources
Right.
locally before, reaching out to other assistance. That's something that's sitting there that could be very utilized
That's right.
if we have access to it.
Well, I remember when I was on a county commissioner, there were some counties that had access to bridge funds, but they weren't using it, and they were told, either you use it or you lose it,
Yeah.
because that's a good place to make good improvements on your roads, because if you don't have a good bridge facility, you can't let the trucks through, and a few other things that come to play at that point, so, good work. Thank you.
I think we need to, personally, I think we need to continue this discussion and maybe lean in toward getting that advice, whether it's the Association of Indiana Counties
Yeah,
or
right.
whomever.
We should.
And identify what needs to be done, zero in on that. And I'll tell you what, from a broadband perspective, as we see more and more people use it out in the country, because I'm one of them, that you're going to get some heavy-duty trucks, FedEx, Prime, UPS, even US Mail, some of the bigger vans have been out in the country. That's wear and tear, and they need bridges to cross some of these places. So I think if we could zero in on that, that would be great and find a use for that 50%.
I agree.
So anyway, anything else regarding resolution 2025-03?
Is this 3 we have to do? I move that we approve resolution 2025-03.
I'll second.
I think that's where we're at.
Yeah, that's good. That works. Okay. Please call the roll. Mr. Cockrell?
Commissioner Martin,
Yes.
Commissioner Cassidy,
Yes.
Commissioner Kiesling,
Yes,
Commissioner McCarty,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones. Motion is approved, 5-0.
Okay, moving on to resolution 2025-04. This is the Curry profile tip.
And hopefully this will be the most straightforward.
Yeah.
Much like the 46 corridor, we had issued a bond that hasn't been drawn down upon. However, in this case, it's intentional and that it won't be, and the person who has the bond is not intending to draw down on it because of issues that arose during the COVID pandemic. They would appreciate it if we just paid off what was already drawn down, which was about $100,000, and we've been working towards that for the last year or so. I think it'll be another couple years before it's all paid off, and then once that gets paid off, we had a discussion last month about maybe if clearly there's not a significant amount of funding going in there now, if that changes, then maybe that could used to help offset some of the Curry reconstruction costs. So I think for right now, I think the goal is to get that bond paid off, get it extinguished, and then reevaluate where we are.
Revenue standpoint, after we've paid it off, see where it's going to be. Okay.
Okay. Any questions on this resolution?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 25-4.
second.
Call the roll. Mr. Cockrell?
Commissioner Martin. Commissioner Cassidy.
Yes.
Commissioner Kiesling.
Yes,
Commissioner McCarty.
Yes.
Commissioner Jones. Motion is approved, 5-0.
Okay. Minutes. We did not have a meeting last month, correct? And so we got the March meeting.
and I missed that meeting, but I did read the minutes, so thank you.
This time we'll entertain any questions, any corrections anybody sees, or even a motion.
Mr. Chairman, in Curry profile TIF, you state the amount. Is that supposed to have a dollar sign in front of the 6? It's an editorial issue, but
Yes, it looks that way.
I just
Already-
think
yeah.
reading, people will not identify us as no dollars to be signed it, so I'd like to have an editorial okay on that. That's the only thing I saw when I was reading, I think, yeah.
It does look like 6 million slips of bonds on
Yeah, I
paper.
know.
Yeah,
That's
no,
right.
dollars. Yeah, that was good. Okay.
I'm going to move approval of the minutes of the County Redevelopment Commission for March 26, 2025, with the addition of a dollar sign in front of the 6 under the Curry Profile TIF District.
I second.
Mr. Cockle, you can call the roll.
Commissioner Martin.
Yes.
Commissioner Cassidy.
Yes.
Commissioner Kiesling.
Yes.
Commissioner McCarty.
Yes.
Commissioner Jones. Motion is approved, 5-0.
All right, moving on to claims.
Yes, we have kind of two sets of claims, one for Butler, Fairman, and Soffit, Inc. for $16,699.02. And these are for the Karst Greenway Connector Trail inspections. And then we have a second set of claims for Financial Solutions Groups, and that was for the preparation and presentation of the annual reports at the last meeting. For a total, and that's for $17,400, for a total of $34,099.02.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion has been approved and seconded. Mr. Cockrell, please call the roll.
Commissioner Martin.
Yes.
Commissioner Cassidy.
Yes.
Commissioner Kiesling.
Yes.
Commissioner McCarty.
Yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Motion is approved, 5-0.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving on to, we have members of the public here. When we, if anybody would like to make a comment before we move to staff. On up.
Good to see everyone. My
Jen.
name is Jen Pearl, and I'm the president of the Bloomington Economic Development Corporation. For those that aren't familiar, we are a nonprofit that serves all of Monroe County in attracting and growing quality jobs to the community.
Talk into your mic, please.
I'm sorry?
Fix your mics. Talk into the mic.
Thank
There
you. Actually, this comment is just a follow-up on the discussion around SB 1. We published an article in the Herald Times a few weeks ago about tools that communities have to respond to revenue deficits following the passage of SB 1. In terms of the Economic Development Toolkit, there's really three things. It's attracting new real property, which is, land and building growth in the community. The second is business personal property above $2 million, based on the new minimum de minimis, I guess you would say, for personal property taxes. That's equipment for businesses. And then finally is landing new residents that live inside of Monroe County, which is very critical given the possible shift from property taxes to local income taxes for making up revenue. So the BDC stands ready to work alongside the county in trying to continue to attract and grow these opportunities here. We published details on this in the Herald Times, but we're always happy to answer more questions and share information as needed.
All right, thank you, Jen.
Writing our signatures, losing track.
Well, I appreciate everything you do at the BEDC. I know they've been very busy lately, so thank you. Anyone else from the public? We do have Counselor Liz Feidel. Do you have any?
I think so. I think I'm good. I haven't found anything that I didn't understand, and that's a pretty good when I can go to a meeting like that early
All right.
on. So I'm going with that.
Excellent. Thank you. And thank you for coming. Okay. Staff comments. So, Lisa.
If you want any project updates, I think the big one out there is Fullerton Pike. We will be closing a section of that. It went out today, the news release for the last phase. And then that is scheduled to open by August 4th for completion.
Wow.
Probably be out there just finishing up things, but it'll be open from I-69 to the new roundabout in Phase 2 that was completed. Vernal Pike, again, the deck pour was done for that. That's scheduled for mid-August completion. And the Karst Trail that we had been working on, they just are finishing up the punch list items there, that extension, and that's it. Have any other projects you need an update on?
Fair to say that there will be time when it opens for school bus traffic to start traveling across that?
That's the target.
Okay,
August
all
4th,
right.
because I think school starts like the 5th or 6th,
I think it's the 6th, yeah, something like, yeah. Close, close.
We're going to make it. We
I know
are
you
going
will.
to make it.
Yes. Yeah.
I have to give
They'll
you,
be appreciative of it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
yeah, your staff and the contractor out there at Fullerton Pike, they seem to be doing an extremely good job of keeping things moving, and when you start looking at it now, everybody is starting in that area to get excited because it will change the traffic patterns and give that east-west connector, which will be absolutely vital to the community.
Yeah, they've done a really good job. We have progress meetings every other week. We reach out to the public continuously. We do door hangers out there. We had an email listserv for the residents in the area. So we really wanted to keep this one with a lot of communication. It's one of those projects, love or hate it. But I think it's turned out well. I think people like it, and I think a lot of the subdivisions will realize that it will eliminate that cut-through traffic that they don't want once it's opened. So you have a lot going through the Highlands to go to Rockport. I think they'll see that a lot of that will decrease once it's open. So,
Doing a good job. Appreciate it very much.
thank you.
Great. Okay, Jeff Cockrell, you have anything?
Well, I was just going to say that this very afternoon, got a reimbursement request for $162,920 from Logan Land Development for the Hunter Valley extension. Clearly hadn't had time to go through it, haven't had time to give it to the Highway Department to go through it, so it's not ready for your guys to consume, to look at tonight, but just, I think it's a sign that things are starting to move on that project.
Great. Wonderful. That will be a great connector, another great connector. So, good. That's good news. Okay. Commissioner comments. So, Richard, do you have any comments?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. Randy?
Good. Thank you.
All right. Here's Keesland.
Okay, thank you. Good
Yeah.
work, Lisa, with all the legislation and everything else. I know it's mind-boggling. I remember
mind-boggling.
that.
I've never testified before, so that was a new experience for me, but.
I'm sure.
Thank you. And we do have a new redevelopment commissioner, Michael Jones. So, welcome. You have any?
No, I'm going to be in listening mode for a while. It's I'm new to the area, but 10 years on some of the projects. As you talk about them, it still takes a second for it to click as to where exactly that's at. But
That's fine.
it's a learning curve steep at this point. So.
Welcome aboard.
Yeah, welcome. Glad to have you, and we're glad to have a full contingent. So, thank you. And yeah, I think this has been a very good meeting. I think that these resolutions come at a good time. We have a lot of questions, but those are in the not too far future, not too fit thing. So, thank you very much. If there's nothing else,
Move that we adjourn.